We continue our discussion and analysis of the fatal police shooting in New York City. Tom Ruskin is a former New York City police officer and currently a private investigator. Also joining us is civil and criminal defense attorney Royce Russell. Both have been here to Rise America many times. It's good to see you, gentlemen. As I said when you walked in the studio, we really got to stop meeting under these circumstances because this really is a tragedy. Tom, let me just start with you. As having served on the force, I'm sure that there are times when you lost colleagues in the line of duty, although probably not like this. Just in a general sense, what is it like for a New York City police officer to go back out on the street today after these assassinations?
Cops are sworn to do what they are paid to do. They will do their job. They go back with a little extra caution today, but they go back with the determination that this is what they're paid to do and that this is one of the things that can happen. And even though they see a colleague shot, killed, executed, assassinated in the streets, they will go back and do their jobs.
I'm just curious, does this tend to make a police officer more alert and more heightened? I don't want to use the word fearful, but just perhaps more alert or perhaps angry?
I would say more alert, more cautious, more concerned about their surroundings, more cautious before going into a building, especially if it's a funky type of call, a suspicious type of call that raises the hairs up on the back of their neck. So at that point in time, they're going to wait for someone else to come and back them up. They're not just going to rush into the building. I was a cop in the 70s and the 80s, and it was a different climate then than the 90s and the early 2000s. We're going back a little bit to that way. Cops will do what they have to do to be able to protect themselves and the people that they're sworn to protect.
Yeah, many have talked about that today, how this has taken us back to a few of the unfortunate killings in the 70s and 80s. Right. Royce, I just wonder, as a citizen and perhaps even as an attorney, I know what answer I'm going to get from you, Tom, if I ask you this, but do you feel like this incident and the connection that people are automatically making between the protests and these two officers being tragically shot, do you feel like this makes people of color more vulnerable to unhealthy interactions with irresponsible police officers? Because we don't want to paint them all by the same brush.
I would say yes. I would say that there is a sense of vulnerability on the lowest level, in that those who might be bad police officers or might not be policing well, we hope that they follow Tom's lead and they still hold their profession to a higher standard. But you're asking me the fear factor of an African American, someone of color, that has seen this happen. Yes, I think their awareness is heightened too. I just hope that when the police officers' awareness is heightened and the community's awareness is heightened, there's a mutual kind of thinking, a mutual coming together to say, all right, I understand you're scared and you understand that I'm scared. You understand that the marches and the protests that have been going on were for a greater good, to look at policy, to look at how to make our society function in a better place and in a better space. This was a setback in that some people are trying to use it for the means of setting back the storyline, the narrative, the progression of good policing. But this was someone that was out in the wilderness, if we could say.
And I think I can predict which side of the fence both of you gentlemen are going to fall on, but I want you both to make the case of why or why not this incident is connected at all to the peaceful, constitutionally protected protests that have been happening in New York City and around the country. It's been immediately made the connection, but help me understand how the two are connected.
This is a deranged individual who took advantage of the rhetoric and used his own demented self to come and commit a homicide and kill two innocent people. The officers he killed were Hispanic and Asian. And the only reason he picked those officers was opportunity. They were sitting in a marked police car and they were wearing blue. Other than that, it wasn't based on race. And if you go to the scene tonight where those officers were killed, you will see every cross-section of this city out there putting flowers, crying, black, Hispanic, white, people are there.
Tom, let me jump in.
From the neighborhood, and he was protecting a black neighborhood.
And for that reason, isn't it counterproductive for voices like Pat Lynch, president of the Patrolmen's Benevolence Association, to make statements saying that there is blood on people's hands and it starts at the steps of the courthouse at the office of the mayor? Isn't that as counterproductive as some of the irresponsible violence that has tangentially gone on along with the protests?
I think that it is a reaction, a visceral reaction to what happened that day. And I don't think that literally there's blood on the hands of de Blasio or anyone in his administration. The rhetoric has gone too far on both sides. And the rhetoric has to stop. And maybe these officers, since they gave their lives, will have given it for a better good to bring people together and make the dialogue a better conversation, to change the way policing is done and the way that the police are seen in different neighborhoods. At least that's my hope.
I have to say, I hope the same. We can take tragedy and we can use it as teachable moments. We know that although this person had a mental history, had a criminal background that is, let's say, voluminous to say the least, he was smart enough to take something that was a positive movement and attach it to himself so he can go out in a blaze, so he can be more relevant. What I hope to happen is that the movement and the progress and the civil protests and groups that are out there trying to push policy, legislation, whether it's the ACLU, whether it's the Justice League, trying to get reform, trying to make the police department a better place, trying to reduce the financial risks and the vulnerability to the city from the lawsuits that happen because of this, trying to give confidence to communities that are brown and of color to say, hey, look, not only does your life matter, we're going to take a hold and a stake in this. Hopefully this will be a benchmark. Hopefully this will be the teachable moment to say, look, you thought you were going to derail us, but you haven't. We're still on track.
And that sounds so wonderful, and I hope you're absolutely right. But when we see images like, for instance, when Mayor Bill de Blasio went to the hospital where the fallen officers were taken, the police officers turning their back to the mayor, that is an unfortunate image, and it doesn't seem necessary to me.
This is a mayor who has not stuck by his police department, maybe till now. And as someone who has been at the hospital,
how do you define that, not stuck by his police department?
He has not stuck by the police department.
In what ways, though,
He's been very unsupportive of the police department. When two lieutenants were assaulted on video in the middle of the Brooklyn Bridge, he used the word alleged assault. He brought his son, Dante, a biracial son, into the mix when he's talking about a grand jury decision. Either we have a system that works in this country or we have a system that we have to fix. But a mayor or a leader, at the point in time where you have a grand jury decision, has to bring the city together. You have to support the demonstrations because they have a constitutional right to do it, at the same way the police march with them. But you can't say alleged assault on two lieutenants who are marching with the protesters.
But Tom, what I would say to that, and I don't want to veer too off into another area, and when you talk about leadership and you talk about, hey, look, this is evident, this is what's before you, how can you say something different? The same thing is right in the face of Pat Lynch. It's right there. It is, you see what is happening. You see it's evident. To use the words like, oh, well, we have to investigate. We have to find out what really happened. It's as if a tape doesn't exist. It's as if the lighting in the stairwell made all the difference in the world as to why someone had their finger on the trigger. At some point, everybody has to say, you know what? The result was not a good result. But what we saw, we did see a strikeout. We did see a slam dunk. We did see what we saw. And so if we're going to say, hey, look, de Blasio, you didn't support this group, then we have to look at the people in charge on the other end and say, hey, look, what are you supporting?
And here's the thing, and of course, we can't exhaust this subject in the confines of Arise America, so we're going to have to bring it to a close. But I think the one thing that we can all agree on is that there is a problem and something needs to be done.
Yes.
And the discussion then is what that is.
Right.
Tom Ruskin, Royce Russell, as always, thank you, gentlemen, so much. Good to see you, too. And this is Arise America.